You figure out a concept, and then you work the concept.
But you know what? You can, by just putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, Ryan, which would be, okay, let's just say that there was an agent that didn't feel comfortable. He could go over to another agent and say, hey, how about we just get together and have a conversation, talk about what's going on in the market, and let's record that conversation. You and I often talked, Ryan, that some of our best conversations are just when me and you are talking over the phone about nothing, right? And it just kind of wanders off into Never Never Land, and then all of a sudden it's like, damn, I wish I would have recorded that conversation. So I think that a good place to start for many people is, if you don't feel comfortable talking by yourself, get somebody else that's within your industry, partner up, and just start talking and just see in what direction that leads you. At the end of the day, you'll get more comfortable. You'll start to believe things, and there will be these emotions that are just ignited that you didn't have before. I get very passionate on my show. Like sometimes very upset at half the crap that's out there in the media. And I think that that's important because people can really buy into somebody that has strong passion, strong beliefs and convictions about something versus somebody else that's just like, the market's okay. You know what I mean?
Well, look at Gordon Ramsay, right?
Right.
So Gordon Ramsay is one of the highest paid TV personalities. He cusses up a storm. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He is just who he is. And people love him because he's so real. He's so authentic. But what you said, passion, it trumps pretty much everything else. And if you really want to think about what a podcast is, it's an MP3, okay, just recorded. You could speak into your phone, your iPhone, go to your audio recorder, hit record, speak. You have an MP3 file, and now you can upload that to iTunes. That's all a podcast is. But just like this podcast right now, I got a microphone. I'm in my office, but you don't need anything special. And so for very little money, for very little barrier of entrance, you can get started in this media business. And now you can take that audio, your ideas, and put them out into the marketplace, whether it be getting them transcribed in article format, whether it be putting them on a blog in video format, if you're recording the call with video as well. You can post them to the podcast. And so there are all these different ways that you can take and convert it to a message where, just like the money guys, instead of being on actual radio and enduring the expense, you can get started for very little, and it's the content, it's the message that drives everything. And so the question I always get, of course, is, but I'm not an expert. Who is an expert? How does one become an expert? At what point do you get labeled an expert? The entire notion of expertise, it's subjective. It is. Who's to determine? Because somebody buys a bunch of alphabet soup behind their name, does that make them an expert? Because somebody buys fake authority and has a book chapter in a book, does that make them an expert? Because somebody buys a spot on a radio, does that make them an expert? No. You become an expert when you have something to say, a story to tell, a message to convey that will help people. That's all an expert is. And so my advice, just map out the journey. Just decide. So Sloper talked about this when he got into radio. Say yes and worry about all the shit else later. He failed the first time. He was embarrassed the first time, but he got through it. This isn't so bad. I can do this. And so put that content out. Make the commitment. And you'll begin to create your community. And the community starts with 1. And it starts with 2. And then it grows to 3. And then it grows to 4. And then it grows to 5. Nobody starts out with this audience of 10,000. Nobody starts out with this audience of 1,000. Nobody starts out with this audience of 100. But because you put out content, because you're passionate about it, because you speak your beliefs, those who think and believe like you do are attracted back to you, and then they start telling their friends, hey, you got to pay attention to this Ryan Fletcher guy. You got to pay attention to this Ryan Sloper guy. You got to pay attention to whatever your name is. And slowly but surely, you begin to build up your audience. And so I'm seeing it with this podcast. Our numbers are starting to take off. The first couple of episodes, not a lot of people tuned in. 3rd, 4th, 5th, we're seeing a lot more traction. 7th, 8th, 9th, far ahead of where I actually expected. And we're getting feedback. And people are buying the book, and people are subscribing to Broken Industry, and people are wanting more and more content. Because they say to themselves, I like how this guy thinks. That's it. I like how this guy thinks.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things in my estimation that's wrong with the real estate industry is that there's always the guru party out there, you know, giving you as many silver bullets as possible. So everybody's convinced that everything can happen and turn around for them on basically the drop of a hat. Like tomorrow, your business can turn around. And there couldn't be anything further from the truth. And I think that I've always told you, Ryan, that if you're going to do something like this, please take my advice and commit to doing something for a year. A year.
No, just a week. Just a week. If you don't get results, cut it off. Quit. Stop. No. Don't ask people to commit for a month. The low information agent, he'll never go for it. We'll have wasted this entire hour. We'll have wasted all of our breath. He will be turned off.
Yeah. It's.
Oh my God. I'd have to speak. I'd have to have an idea. I'd have to work at this. I'd have to get a $100 microphone and record it into an MP3. Oh, can't I just buy a designation? It would be so much easier. Can't somebody promise me a bullet? A silver one, a really shiny one that will make me rich? Oh boy, they will. And it's why 91% of agents, or whatever that number is, it's big, fail. Because the shiny bullet that they offer you asks you and forces you to be someone that you're not. That doesn't resonate with the core of your character. And so the only true way to become an authority, universal truth, number one. I have it my stack of papers here. I want to read it to you, and I want to make sure I get it right. Right down to the last word. Because it's this important. It's this critical. If I could find it. It's somewhere here in my stack of stuff, which speaks loudly to how much I prepare for this show. It's not something that I just get on here and for 3 minutes spout or talk. It's pages, it's study, it's keeping up to date, it's reading books. And so I must have 30 or 40 or 50 pieces of paper in front of me with different ideas, different perspectives from different people, from political to marketing to talk radio to authors to thought leaders. Here's universal truth number one. Accept it. Embrace it. In business, there is a distinct singular form of influence. Being perceived as a someone, the authority, those who possess it, have power. And see, the low information agent, he's never going to have the ability to enforce obedience. He's never going to have the power to give orders. He's never going to have the power to control a particular sphere because he allows himself to be controlled by the guru party, and every single thing that they teach destroys authority.